This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses. Hi, my name's John Cordy and I'm Mike Fuller's PR agent. I wanted to do a video today talking about the Nano Cortex because I included it in my sort of favourite pedals of 2024 list, and I saw the comments briefly, and a guy at the very top has said enough about the Nano Cortex or something to that effect, and there's a sentiment going around the Nano Cortex which I can't quite get a hold of. As someone who's not a fan of Neural DSP, not sponsored by Neural DSP, and bought this device myself, I was kind of like, what's this about? And I've seen a thumbnail going around in my recommended, I've not actually watched the video, of a guy like saying do not buy the Nano Cortex, and I kind of thought, what's wrong with the Nano Cortex? So I've asked Rob Harris from Jamiroquai, who I know has got a Nano Cortex because we chatted about it, David Beebe, who I know has got a Quad Cortex because we chatted about it, both professional guitarists, and then Jason Wade, who is a friend of the channel and a friend of mine, and a friend of Jake's and a friend of Broan's, and just said, like, what do you like about the Quad Cortex? And then later on in the video, I guess we can come to some things which we maybe change about the Quad Cortex. But at first, I kind of wanted to share what these guys think about it, because is it just me thinking that this is actually pretty cool? So I asked Jason, he just emailed me some of the reasons I like Nano Cortex. It's small, integrates with my pedal board and workflow very easily. Also worth saying that Jason has a Kemper, Axfex, Helix Native. He has lots of other stuff, right? If you spend some time with it, you'll find sounds and tones pleasing to your ear. In my setup, it seems to take the fuzz pedals better than the other profilers, so that's quite cool. Modelers, plugins I use, letting the subtle nuances through more so than the others. I think he's specifically using a traditional clean profile, mostly.
Hey John, how you doing? I'm just getting back to you about your question that you sent me today, asking me about how I've been using the Nano Cortex. I've had it probably a month and a half now, 6 weeks. I've used it on a handful of gigs, specifically my residency in London. I've been using it probably a little bit out of laziness. The gig that I do in London is a four-piece band, guitar, bass, drums and vocals. Basically, the Nano Cortex is taking the place of an amp for me. I'm just using it like an amp. It's a very quiet room. I'm just going straight to the PA and hearing myself back through monitors. There's no in-ears. So I've been using it as an amp. I've been using my own FTR37 capture within it. That's without an IR. I captured it, head and cab situation. And then I've been using your Pro Reverb capture. Actually, I've been using that more than my own FTR. I haven't delved in too much with the programming of other patches. I've just been using 2 amps. I've been taking out a pedal with me, my Noble's ODR1, just been plugging that into the front of it, because it's basically 2 sounds for the gig. I also have an expression pedal with the reverb on, and that's on both amps, and I can just blend in reverb when I need it. But I found it really good for those situations where, almost like I'm turning up to a club gig with a Fender Deluxe or a Hot Rod DeVille or something like that. It's been great. It's been really good. In fact, I just did a trip away to Thailand, and I had the Nano Cortex that I could take back to my hotel room. I was in a studio and I had my Quad Cortex in the studio, but I was taking the Nano Cortex back if I needed to do something in my hotel room when I was away from the studio. But yeah, it's been pretty good. It's been doing the job that I've needed it to do. I can imagine it would be useful on a board with pedals in front of it and maybe something after it. Maybe if I wanted a better reverb after it or something like that, a different reverb after it or delay. Pretty cool unit, and that's how I've been using it.
Hey everyone, my name's David Beebe. Cordy's asked me to crash in on his channel and give my quick thoughts on the Nano Cortex. I really like this pedal. It might sound a little contrarian given some of my thoughts on the Quad Cortex, but to me, in chatting with Cordy and some other friends, I think a few of us actually have the thoughts that this is more of a well thought out, coherent pedal, and I think some of the claims it's making are backed up in that it delivers on. It's not over promising and under delivering. The Nano, if you discount all of the interesting marketing videos campaign, it's far more restrained in what it's attempting to do, and I think it takes some of the strongest features of the Quad, namely the capturing and the ease of the capturing process, the quality of the capture process, and just putting it into a package that for under £500 can almost fit in your pocket. I think that is kind of incredible, really. I guess you just normalize technology and normalize what you expect so quickly. What used to seem like voodoo magic becomes a basic human right a few years later. If you'd have told me like 14 years ago that in 2024 you'll have a Kemper the size of this that you can put in your pocket for £500, you'd have think like, give it to me now, but release it in 2024 and it's not quite what the community may have wanted. It seems like there's maybe a bit of a backlash. Overall, I really like this thing. It's been fantastic for the last couple of months that I've had it. I've actually been traveling with it in hotels, using it as a travel rig. I think it's fantastic. You can stick in another mic, which when I'm doing videos on the move, I can stick in an XLR into the second input and use it to multi-track guitar videos. So I can do guitar tracks and my voice. I've been capturing amps with it, so I've done some captures of my Friedman, my Morgan and my Fender. Those are all available on my Cortex Cloud if you want to search me on there. Really digging the fact that you can power it via USB-C. That now is a bit of a game changer. The other thing I've got to give them total credit for is the app syncing process. That has been 100% rock solid, and that I have not had it fail or not work one time. So there's a bit of a unique thing, and I'm wondering if this is a design choice by Neural, is that every time you launch the app, if it's not been on recently, you have to hold down the exit capture button for 1 second, but it instantly connects every single time, and then it's rock solid until you leave the app or turn the device off. Absolute top credit goes to that, because there's been many other pedals I've used with the Bluetooth app connection that have been extremely flaky on a good day. As to the negatives to the Nano Cortex as I currently see it, I think there's a potential question mark with the update schedule. Now, Neural have publicly committed to supporting and updating the Nano Cortex. There's a blog post that they've posted going through that. But in terms of when and how much and what's coming, like, yeah, real question mark. If I look back over the 4 years of the Quad Cortex, I held off of getting it for 3 years, just observing the process, and it did seem like quite a glacial pace. But it is good to know at least that there are some updates coming in the future. As to the product itself currently, as to what's missing,
they are no doubt going to be adding more things in the future with OS updates like some of the other companies. The reverb and the delay are very good in my opinion. They aren't the most elaborate in the world, but they are fine, and I would second that as an opinion. I think for me, I was kind of thinking like one delay, one reverb, one chorus, but it's fine. That's the thing with the Nano Cortex, it's fine. Does everything need to be a game changer in the guitar space these days? Maybe, maybe not. Does it all need to do all of the things for every person? Maybe not. David Beebe brings up this, which he thinks could maybe change.
For me, the biggest thing that's lacking is the pre-effects of a compressor and a drive block. I can live with the fixed signal chain. I can live with the limited amount of effects. I think the single delay and reverb are great. I don't need tons of choice, but to omit completely a compressor and a drive block has a few big issues. First of all, bass players. I mean, bass players without a compressor in their rig, that kind of nerfs a lot of them using it, I think. But I do use compression a fair amount. It's my kind of lifesaver when the legato is having a bad day. And the drive block is one of those things that it's not absolutely necessary because you could bake it into your captures, but it just balloons the number of captures to organize and presets to change. And it would just seem that leaving out the drive block from the product seems, especially for neural, I mean, are you even neuraling if you're not putting a tube screamer into your 5150 plugin?
Jason also brought this up, and I think probably there's a bunch of guitarists that are maybe never going to use that pitch block, the transpose function. What if you could switch that out for something else that was going to be more functional? So you make that first kind of pitch, which takes up a fair amount of DSP in the Quad Cortex world, right? I think. Take that block and make that one like a utility block, which you could drop in other blocks from the Neural DSP library. I think that would meaningfully improve the Nano Cortex. So that might mean that you could put a compressor in there. That might mean you could put a drive pedal in there. And then, like David Beebe has kind of said, you'd have a situation then where this could be like your all-in-one, and you're not having to bake the thing into the capture. David Beebe also suggested that there is a dearth of like premium captures.
And because there's no like premium captures, there's no paid third-party captures, or it's very hard to do that because there's no robust sort of fleshed out ecosystem for doing that. It's a little bit of a Wild West in terms of the quality and the quantity and variety of devices that you can find on there. So if you've got a great gear collection, then the Nano Cortex I think is fine. If you don't already, then I think, yeah, you're probably at the mercy and goodwill of people just capturing their expensive gear and giving it away on the Cortex Cloud for free.
That there isn't an incentive for maybe folks like Tone Junkie, Worship Tutorials, David Hislop, these kind of guys that do like the premium stuff, Amalgam, Amp Gems, to put in as much effort in the Quad Cortex and Nano Cortex realm because it's a bit more difficult to monetize. For me, in terms of things that I'd actually change, that block in front is definitely would be nice, but ultimately I think it does what it does really well. It is fine. So I don't understand people having super strong feelings like this is a terrible product. Like, Neural DSP don't need to update the Quad Cortex yet, in my opinion, in terms of like superseding the hardware. To bring out something that's way cheaper that can do some of the best things that the Quad Cortex could do made a ton of sense, I think. I'd much sooner own this than a Quad Cortex. It takes up way less space, does something different to my other modelers. I quite like the Nano Cortex. As I say, I've got no affiliation with Neural DSP. They really don't. I don't think they're fans. Thanks to Rob, David, and Jason for sharing their opinions on it. I thought it was just be an interesting idea to get some takes from other people. You know, less than 500 quid can capture your device to a really pretty decent level of accuracy. I captured the Van Wielden Royal Overdrive. I did the TS1, 2-Rock TS1. I think it's a really cool thing, especially if you're in charge of the capture and you know exactly what you were going for. I think that's where it really excels, in my opinion. Anyway, let me know your thoughts.